This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Tim Berry, and we've been friends for a while now. This guy is a wealth of knowledge. He's over 2 decades, old guy, over 2 decades in this business of the legalese and the legal do's and don'ts, and just an attorney for retirement plans, how to fix them when you broke them, how to open them, how to shut them, how to move around in them, how to make them grow. And that's kind of where I come into, because I like all these creative ways that you can move this money into tax deferred retirement plans. And we're talking about all different kinds of plans, not just IRAs or 401ks, but all kinds of stuff. So with no further ado, how you doing, Tim?
I am doing fantastic, Mitch. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. We've had the pleasure of speaking before, but it's always fun to talk to you, and it's always changing, and there's always new twists and turns to the business of deferred retirement plans. That's what keeps it fun. Some people coming up with things out of their own brain, and then laws shifting or things shifting, and that's how the rich get richer, right? They study money, they study how it works, and they know how to use the legal concepts that are built and set up and passed by law. And the people that don't study that stuff just sit around and wonder why they have to make 1% in a bank account.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah. So the reason why the rich get richer is because they study money. So if you're one of those people sitting around complaining because the rich just keep getting richer and you're not, ask yourself, how many hours are you spending on podcasts like this talking to people about how to grow your money? The answer will probably be very little, because if you start studying about it, anyone can do this. Anyone can do it. You don't have to have a membership or certificate or whatever. You just have to get off your ass and go learn how they're doing it and why they're doing it, and then start applying yourself, even at the most modest level. Everyone starts out with zero. We all come out with nothing.
Let me toss in real fast too, is they've got access to a lot of knowledge too. They got access to people like you who can tell them how to get more successful, get more money. So it's just not, they're limited by their own time on studying, but they can also hire other people. And this isn't a pitch people to try to hire me, but it's just reality of the rich have access to more consultants and more knowledge than the regular Joe does.
Okay, so just a couple of yes or no questions first, and then we're going to expand on them. One is, can you buy and sell real estate inside a deferred retirement plan?
Absolutely. And let me make one correction here, Mitch. Sorry to be correcting, but if you do it right, it's not even a deferred retirement plan. It's a completely, totally tax-free retirement plan. And a lot of people do that. But can you buy real estate inside your retirement plan? Yes.
Okay. Is there any limits to the amount of contributions you can put into it?
Yeah, they got contribution limits, but those are kind of for people who don't know what they're doing. Theoretically, the contributions are $5,000-6,000 for IRAs. That's not too exciting. $50-something thousand for 401ks. But there's examples, and these have popped up in the last month or so, of people having billions with a B inside their retirement plan. So are there contribution limits? Yes. But once again, if you have access to that knowledge, you can blow past those contribution limits.
Yeah, and let's keep making the point. This has case law. It's studied. We're not doing anything jicky. We're trying. Your job is to keep us between the lines and doing it by the book, right? But there's ways to do it by the book. You just have to read the book. If you're going to play Monopoly, learn how Monopoly rules work.
And not only that, but the government actually issued the book back in October of 2014. They issued a report saying exactly how people move hundreds of millions of dollars inside a retirement plan. So they're well aware of it. They've looked at it. They analyzed it. There's nothing wrong with it. They've allowed it, and it's still going on. So yeah, we're playing by the book, and the book the government wrote and the government even provided us.
Right.
One thing, Mitch, too, real fast. If any of the listeners want a copy of that book, by all means, have them send you an email and you forward it on over to me, and I'll be more than happy to give you a copy of the government playbook of how to move the millions into the retirement plan.
Yeah, that's so I'm going to give out a link. We'll figure out a keyword here pretty soon, but it'll be 1000houses.com/something. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we'll figure it out here in a second. I should have done that before I got on this damn show, but sometimes we just don't do everything we're supposed to do. Okay, so, and if you don't plan on this stuff and you don't take the time, it's just it's just a long, brutal world out there. So let's learn how to win and get ahead. How can someone use their retirement funds let's start with real estate. How can someone use the funds to invest in real estate? Of course, there's a million ways to invest in real estate, but let's start somewhere. Pick any way you want. Tim, tell us.
Sure. Simple thing is, if you have an IRA, for the masses, they're going to have IRAs. They need to use a fancy trust company to move their IRA to that fancy trust company. It's called an IRA custodian. Then that IRA custodian creates an LLC. And then we name the IRA owner as the manager of the LLC. The IRA assets get moved into the LLC. And now whenever somebody wants to invest in real estate, no big deal. They're the manager of this LLC. They've got a checkbook. They write the check out and make the investment. It's just that simple.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong now, but you are taxfreefuture.com. We work together as taxfreefuture.com, where they can help you get that done. So let's raise our hand right now, taxfreefuture.com. If you want to move into a self-directed fund, deferred retirement fund or tax-free retirement fund. I mean, taxfreefuture.com does that. That's one of your choices. And I highly recommend it because, and let me just say this real quick. If you use the freeway, the free door where you get in for free and you can open it all up for free and everything, first of all, they're probably not going to set you up with an LLC. They're just going to get you into a self-directed plan. And then you're going to have to answer to them a lot and wait for them. But if you get in the free door, they're going to charge you all the way out the back end for the rest of your life until free didn't look so good anymore. If you go through the taxfreefuture.com door, right now it's about $1,500 plus whatever the cost of your LLC is. And then you're paying a flat fee every year of what, 150, 175, 200, what is it?
It's right around $200. Depends on if it's an IRA or a 401k, but let's just say 200 plus or minus $50.
Yeah, plus or minus, 200 or 250. It doesn't matter because that's all you pay every year as a servicing fee or a maintenance fee, right? And like some of the plans I had been in before, the more transaction I did, there was transaction fees. They feed me to death. I looked up and I had four retirement plans that I was working in, I don't want to say the word working in, that I was investing in. And I looked up and they charged me $3,000 more or less for each one of them. It's $12,000 for the year. Or I could have paid $1,000, $250 each. And that's an overstatement, and the bigger, and then they even had, I remember this one fee was based on how big your account was. So the bigger you got, the more they charged you in that one assessment. It was X% of whatever the value of your retirement plan was. And I'm thinking, well, holy cow, the bigger you get, the more penalized you become.
Yep, absolutely.
That's not fun. So a pretty long time ago, Tim and I sat down and said, how do you get out of these fees? And he started explaining it to me. And I said, everyone needs to know about this. And that's how taxfreefuture.com was born. Because if you're going to do anything in these retirement funds, you're much better to ignore the free entry, do the $1,500 entry and buy your LLC, and then just be capped at what you're going to be charged at, something stupid like $200+ dollars. So that's the whole reason taxfreefuture.com exists. It was a different choice.
Mitch, it's just like the Valvoline commercials. Remember the Valvoline commercials? You can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Yeah, but how much?
For free in this world.
You can pay a little bit up front and then shut it, keep it way down forever, or you can pay nothing and just watch it start racking up and up and up over the years.
Exactly.
And believe me, it turns into tens of thousands more if you pick the free door. So, I do transactions. Tell me, I find a property that's a great value. I look over at my retirement fund and I see that it has enough in it to purchase the property. This is just one example because you can borrow money. Your IRAs or your retirement plans can borrow money. Different story. I look over there and there's enough funds. So I direct my retirement plan to buy the property. And then once the retirement plan owns it, I direct the retirement plan to sell or finance the property to a buyer over a 30-year note for twice as much. And boom, You know, my $50,000 is $100,000 making 10% in one move. You know,
nothing wrong with that, huh?
You know, now those deals don't happen every day. And you've got, you know, the muscle in that deal was you got to be able to find discounted properties. But if that's what you do, or you know how to do it, or you're willing to learn how to do it, that's the kind of returns. When I first started, I didn't have very much money in my accounts. In fact, I only opened my accounts with the bare minimum, like $250 at the time. And like everyone's like, well, what can you do with $250? I say, well, let me tell you. You put some earnest money, you direct your IRA, there's so many words I'd like to use, and I got to stay with kind of general. You instruct your retirement plan to write an earnest money contract to buy the property at a great discount. You put up $100 earnest money, or your retirement plan puts up the $100 earnest money, and the retirement plan is the purchaser, potential purchaser. And then once the contract's signed by both parties, then you just direct the IRA to sell the contract to another investor out there that sees the value of that contract. Not only does he see the value, but he'll pay you $5,000 to take over the contract so he can go close. You know, basically assign the contract to another investor for a $5,000 fee. So the account goes from $250 to $5,250 in one transaction. And these are small numbers, really, because it can be done on very large scales. And I'm sure you've seen some massive little flips like that before, you know.
Yeah. I mean, going back to that book that the government released, they showed where one guy, I think it was 4,000 or 5,000 he had in his IRA. And after a few years, he had over 100 million inside of his IRA, all legal, all above board.
Yeah. So what's the biggest problems that people get to, or why are people afraid of these retirement plans? What is the biggest thing that they have fears about?
Well, the biggest thing they have fears about really is lack of knowledge. We go back to that having access to knowledge thing. A lot of people don't even know these exist. First off, it's amazing to me that they don't even know that you can buy real estate inside your IRA. And then once they start to buy real estate inside their IRA, understandably, they get afraid that they're going to do something accidentally wrong and it's going to blow up the entire IRA. Well, once again, so long as you have access to knowledge, so long as you have access to people who can help you out through the process, that's not much of a big concern. It's relatively straightforward. You just talked it over right now. You just go out, identify the property, do the contract, pay for the property, have the IRA pay for it all, and then sell the property whenever you sell it. Life is good. You just made your money. You don't pay taxes on it. And
case in point, real life, whenever I'm going to do a transaction, I'm not sure. It's like, it's not a cookie cutter that's already been approved, or I already know Tim would tell me that's okay. If it's getting out of the box a little bit, I just pick up the phone. He charges a little bit. We talk. He hardly ever tells me no. He says, don't do it like that. You need to do it like this, you know? And you go, oh, okay. Glad I called. So the amount of money that I pay to check out with Tim to make sure that I'm staying in bounds and not tainting my retirement plan or getting out of bounds. It's stupid, especially given the amount of money that you can make doing these things. What else can you do in your retirement plans? Say, most people got their money in there and they're doing whatever the weenie heads at Wall Street are telling them to do. They don't even, the weenie heads in Wall Street don't even know your name, don't even give a damn. You're one of billions of people. Hey, move it over to a company like taxfreefuture.com into a self-directed retirement plan. And then you get to say what happens. All right, we covered real estate. Can you loan money to people like me who need to borrow money at 8, 9, 10% or more sometimes?
Absolutely. You can do hard money loans. Your retirement plan can make loans to other people. No problem whatsoever.
Okay. Just so y'all know, I just came out with a book called The Art of Private Lending. I help so many people move their retirement funds over to self-directed so they could start deciding to do what they wanted to do with it. Of course, I had talked to them about loaning the money to me. I have $26 million of private money right now. On the first of the month, I'll be writing checks to about 59 people, and I'm going to be paying interest on $26 million. I talk about that in this book. And so the book is not only how you can loan your own money, but if you're a private real estate investor, this is how you talk to or appeal to people that have money and get them interested in loaning it to you so you can go do your deals. It's not rocket science, but like anything else, you're going to get good at it. You got to spend a little time with it. You know, I'm not going to say to become a good private lender, you have to spend 10,000 hours, because that would be bullshit. But you're going to have to spend a couple of hours that, you know, you're going to have to spend some time. You got to take in some knowledge from somebody. And even then, on your first 1 or 2 or 3 transactions, pay a consultant, Tim or Mitch or someone, to like look over your shoulder and say, yeah, you're doing it right. Or hold on a second, we want to change a few things. You might want to change a few things here. You know, this is why. And I don't know. It's really not about if you're a real estate investor, it's not about you, it's about the deal. And that's what this book describes. What kind of deals, how do you structure a deal so a private guy will loan you their money? And if you're a guy that wants to lend money, how do you want to structure deals so you don't get hurt? I mean, they're both the same thing, just looking at it from right to left or left to right.
And Mitch, stop and think also, for the listeners, stop and think. Let's say you start off with an IRA with $5,000, and now you find a great opportunity for a lending deal, and then you find somebody else who's willing to loan you the money. You put those two together, and your nest egg of 5,000 that started off as 5,000 could build up to be pretty substantial in a very short time period.
Yeah, so you and I spent some time in this studio talking about all these different ways that you could proliferate in your retirement plans. And so if you want to go to taxfreefuture.com and just register there real quick, you'll get access to, I don't know, it's like 30 video vignettes or something. I don't remember how many there were, but there was a lot of them. They're short and sweet, flipping on the light bulb as to, you can do this. This is a little bit how. Doesn't go into great depth on it, but start opening, turning on those lights in all the rooms. Wow, you can do this. You can do that. You can do this. You can do it like this. We know people that do it this other way. You know, so just get familiar with how much opportunity there is out there. I get to where I see opportunities every time I walk down the street. They're just coming at me, because I know all the different ways you can structure these things. Talk about if you don't have much money in there, but you want to put it in your retirement, you want to put this asset in your retirement plan, but you're going to have to borrow some money. Tell us how you do that. How does it borrow money?
Really simple. It just says, hey, somebody, I want to borrow money. I got somebody right now, they're looking to buy a property. They want to borrow $250,000. The property is about 1.5. So they got about 1.25 already inside their plan. They want to borrow $250. No big deal. They're putting out feelers saying, hey, who wants to loan me $250? There's some banks out there that will make the loans. They're few and far between. There's not many. The big key is the loan has to be non-recourse. The IRA owner can't give a personal guarantee. But other than that, life is good. The retirement plan can go out and borrow money.
That was the big key. It can borrow money. It just can't guarantee. It has to be a collateral only loan.
Yep, okay. That's it.
And if your deal right now, I talked about, I have $26 million that I owe to people right now. Every single penny of it is collateral only. Every single penny. That's how I sleep at night. I look at my private lenders. I tell them every day, before they come on, before they do their first transaction with me, I tell them, all right, I want to be perfectly clear. I look them right in the eyes. I say, I got 2 rights. If you loan me this money, I have 2 rights every day of my life. I have the right to pay as agreed, or I have the right to walk you over my position in this property, whether that be I have the deed or I've sold it to someone and I have a note. I have the right any day I want to do that. So if you don't like my collateral over there for the amount of money you're loaning, don't do the deal. Mm-hmm. Some people say, well, that's kind of hard money to get. No, it depends on how good your deal is. If your deal is solid, it makes perfect sense. I mean, they'd actually rather you not pay, because they'd rather have the property instead. They'd rather have the $250,000 house than the $75,000 they loaned you.
Yep.
I mean, they would. So one thing that education does for a lot of people and it's done for me, it helps us break through our limiting beliefs. So if you're one of these people that thinks, no one's going to loan me money, I got news for you. It ain't about you. It's not about you at all. It's about the deal. Charles Manson, God rest his murderous soul, should have been able to get these kind of loans from prison. You know what I mean? Who cares how many people you murdered? It's a $250,000 house, and you only want $50,000 in the first lien position. And if you don't pay me, I get a $250,000. Manson could have got this loan from prison, and he's way worse than anybody listening to this right now, I think. Did I make my point?
You made your point, Mitch. That was a good point.
It's not about you. It's about the deal. Again, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this since the late 90s, so I can't even count that high. I'm getting too old. 20 years, 30 years, something like that.
Yeah. And it's what you do exclusively, right?
This is exclusively what I do.
Yeah. That's the one thing you always want when you're seeking some advice. Make sure the guy you're talking to, if you can, only exclusively deals in the area that you need help in. That's all they do. And that's what he does.
I just had a guy get on the phone call today, and he wanted me to set up some irrevocable trust for asset protection. And I used to do that stuff, but I don't do that anymore. All I do is deal with retirement plans. That's what I specialize in. And it's always hilarious to me whenever someone calls up and they said, hey, I talked to my attorney, and this attorney evidently is a tax genius, is an estate planning genius. Oh, and they work car accidents too. And by the way, if you want to get a divorce, they can do that as well too. And it's hard enough for me just to stay on top of just retirement plans, much less all these other topics. So if you are going to work with someone, make sure you work with somebody who deals in this area exclusively, not somebody that is the jack of all trades.
Yes, exactly. How come people don't know this stuff?
Wall Street doesn't want them to. What did you call them? The weenie heads? Was that the legal phrase?
I said weenie heads.
Yeah, weenie heads, the weenie heads of Wall Street. They don't want people to know about this because the weenie heads of Wall Street make money by managing people's money. So if people manage their own money, weenie heads are going to lose money. They're going to get smaller.
Right. Yeah. If you're self-directing your funds, they don't get paid.
Yeah.
There's no. So let's. You just made me think of something. I challenge everybody out there right now. In the next time you get in your car and you're driving through downtown, wherever you are, start looking on the tallest buildings and tell me what names are on them. They're probably banks or insurance companies, right? So a lot of them are banks. They don't want you to know how to loan money either. You're going to cut them out. They don't want you to know how to loan money. But why are those buildings so tall and have their name at the top of them? Because there's a lot of money in loaning money. If you do it right, if you know how to loan the money right, the parameters and the do's and don'ts, then I have people all the time want to know. I'm tired of living by the ticker tape. I'm tired of waking up every morning to see what I'm worth, because you don't know, and then there's the people out there. Well, I'm up, 17% from last year in the stock market. I said, oh, so you sold. No, I didn't sell. I said, well, if you haven't sold, you're not up anything. You have the chance to be up 17%, but you got to sell. If you don't sell, because tomorrow you could be down to zero tomorrow, so you can live in that. The thing about a good loan is if you make a good loan this morning at 8, it's still a good loan, 2 or 3 years down the road. If that's, if you have a 10-year loan or an 8-year loan, it's still good. It's the same loan. As a matter of fact, it might even be better because the collateral that you loaned against, the real estate, might have gone up hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 5 years.
Yep.
And you still have, and they owe you less money now because it's been several years. And your collateral versus what your risk, the money that you have at risk, the risk, the downside keeps diminishing, with every year. If you make a good loan, if economies go like they're supposed to go, where debts get paid down gradually, houses appraise gradually, appreciate gradually, or property appreciates gradually. So that's what you're looking to do, is get in one of those positions. Tell me about an interesting case you've seen lately. Not a big player. I'm not looking for big numbers. I'm talking about just an interesting move that someone did that's an average Joe.
Average Joes, simple ones. I've seen some average Joes. They go out there and they loan money to people. They get this car loans, and they're loaning them for $6,000-7,000 for used cars, and they're making 25% return on their money. Super low entry, $6,000-7,000, and they're getting a great return on their money. So there's all sorts of things you can do out there with these retirement plans. Yeah.
And okay. When people say, well, Mitch, you're suggesting that I go out there and start loaning money. I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. loan what you've got.
Yep.
I mean, loan what you've got against something that's of greater value that you can tie up, or I don't know, you got to get a handle on it. You know, if you're going to do integrity loans, then just know you're going to, you know, your loans will be as good as the person that you're guessing is going to pay you back. But I don't really like to do those kind of loans. I like to do loans like give me the title to the car, and when you pay it off, you know, or give me a lien on that title, or give me the deed to that house until you pay me. Give me a first lien on that house. Give me something so you can't just walk or run away from me, and that I have the upper hand until you pay me. That's what
Absolutely.
I like to do. But, you know, if you only have $20, then loan it out to somebody and make them pay you back $30. Just make sure you're not usurious. And that's another thing. What you can and can't do could be, if you have a retirement plan, does it matter what state you're in? If the plan's loaning out in that state, like there's different usury amounts in different states, right? You have to watch your state code, right?
Yeah, you got to watch your state code, but in most states, so long as the loan is for commercial purposes, then the usury laws typically do not apply. So if it's done for commercial purposes, life is good. But, you know, by all means, check with your local council, et cetera, so forth, if you're going to do those sorts of loans.
Yeah, you just want to know what your parameters are. When you say commercial use, as opposed to, like, in my world, commercial is if a person wants money on a property that they're not going to live in. If they're going to live in, it's going to be their homestead, then that's called a consumer loan. So that's the difference between commercial and consumer in my world. Is there any differences in some other?
Pretty much the exact same thing.
All right, now I want to go out on a limb here, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But, you know, usually these retirement plans, you know, you can't invest in antiques or antique guitars or antique cars. You can't do all this stuff. But if you set up an LLC and the retirement plan acquires an LLC, and the LLC's job is to buy antique guitars, refurbish them, and sell them, then all of a sudden you figured out how to deal in antique guitars, even though technically everyone in the world is going to tell you that a retirement plan can't deal in antique guitars. Am I right or wrong?
You're kind of right, Mitch. And let me tell you something. There's this one company called taxfreefuture.com. They do these things called 401ks. And with a 401k, you can buy the antique car. You can buy the antique guitar. You can buy the Stradivarius violin. You can buy whatever collectible you want. The collectibles rules don't apply to Tax-Free Futures 401k plans. So we don't have to jump through hoops to do anything interesting. We can just use the Tax-Free Future 401k to buy those collectibles, and it's no big deal.
Okay, so great point. If you've got something you want that you have a passion for and you're not sure how to do it, just go to taxfreefuture.com, register there with the micro information, you know, your name, your phone number, email address, or whatever. I promise you, you're not going to be getting a ton of phone calls beating you up every day about anything. We just want to have a line of communications, be able to call you back and get a personal one-on-one counsel with Tim and say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What's the best entity to open so that I can, you know, best defer my taxes or live tax-free forever? What do you see? What can I do? You know, and let a professional tell you if you can or you can't, or if you're going to do it, how it needs to be structured and why. And then you'll probably find out almost anything you want to do, you can do, short of illegal drugs.
Or yeah, we're not going to bring up Charles Manson either right now.
Well, yeah, well, that either. But so go to taxfreefuture.com and get a consultation with Tim. I mean, and
we got a free book there too. You can download a book. He has all sorts of great information to start learning the basics so you know what questions to ask during the free consultation.
Yeah. Okay. So go to 1000houses.com/TFF, tax-free future. Okay. TFF. Go there. Over there, you get to the show notes. Over there, we're going to have a chance for you to hook up with Tim. You're going to get the free booklet. Whatever there is to offer, it's going to be over there. All the information you'll need, phone number. So you won't need to write anything down here. Just go to 1000houses.com/TFF for tax-free future. And, or you can go to taxfreefuture.com. You can find it all there too. But the important part is start. Even at the most modest level, start. you might find out if you just get started that a whole nother world's going to open up, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, I went to a seminar for $3,000 for my chair for Friday evening, which was the party, the welcome party, a Saturday and half a day Sunday. $3,000. That didn't count my plane ticket, my hotel room in downtown San Francisco, which wasn't cheap. Didn't count any of that. Just $3,000 for my chair. I walked out of that thing Saturday afternoon before it was halfway over. Said I didn't want to hear anymore. Couldn't take anymore. I was drinking, water from a fire hose. I couldn't swallow anymore, but I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I went home. I opened up my retirement plan with, like I said, the bare minimum, about $250. And now I have 4 of them. And I promise you, 99.9% of the people listen to this would be proud to own any of those for those retirement plans, any of the 4. And, it changed my whole life. And I didn't even sit through the second half of it because I couldn't take it anymore. I saw exactly, I didn't want the water to get muddy. I just went. And then I said, I'll go back to the second half of this thing whenever I'm ready. Well, a couple of years later, I was meeting people because of the circles I was running in now, in the conversations that I was having with people. And I learned more about this stuff beyond the seminar that there's the gurus up there, and they're teaching you, but they're trying to sell you too. Mm-hmm. And then out in the hallway, there's these conversations going on about what really happens, what you really can do, and how it really can work, So be sure you look at all the different angles. I find this fascinating. You've probably seen a lot of people use these vehicles to become financially independent at a young age. What's the youngest?
650 million at 26.
650 million at 26.
It's a rough life.
That's enough to kill a 26-year-old.
Now we're coming back to Charles Manson again.
It's a little dangerous. Give a 26-year-old $650 million. But it can be done. Did he start from zero?
Yeah, he did.
Wow. Also, it's not too late to get in the game, right? Like you see people in their 70s, 80s coming in.
It's never too late to get in the game, Mitch. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the biggest limitations so many people have. Those people in the 30s think, oh my gosh, I waited too long. People in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Biggest thing, Mitch, like what you're talking about. Hop in the game. Start getting financially secure. If you sit on the sidelines, guess what? Everyone's going to have a great time without you. You hop in, you might get bruised a little bit and all that stuff, but you know what? You're going to find out how to play the game, and then you're going to start making some money probably.
Yeah. All right. Again, 1000houses.com/TFF, or again, just taxfreefuture.com. Not sure about this. I get it. Get over there, get a consultation. And if you're, you want to dip in for $16, go to 1000houses.com and find this book, The Art of Private Lending. And maybe that'll spark you to say, yes, I can be a lender. I'm comfortable now with the idea of lending. So let's go open up my account and start lending. You know what I mean? So that's just one tiny little angle. Be sure to see the little video vignettes that we did. We put a lot of time and effort into them. We tried to cover a lot of ground, not super deep, but enough to let you know that there is opportunities in all kinds of places, and it'll blow your mind, really. I know that I started my retirement plans with about $250 a piece, every single one of them. I never put in my money until, I needed some retirement plans, a traditional retirement plan, so I could start in a 401k where I could match myself. I mean, I could invest, $26,000. My company could match me. My wife could put up $26,000 or so, and the company could match her. And so in all, it was about $110,000, $112,000 that we got to write off our income because we figured our taxes. That answered the question, why would anyone invest in a traditional IRA when there's a Roth available? Maybe we need to go explain the difference between a traditional and a Roth, but that I finally got wealthy enough to understand the answer. Mm-hmm. Another door opened when the time. It's like, oh, that's why you would do it. So tell us the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA.
Well, the traditional, you get the tax deduction up front. Whenever you put the money inside the retirement plan, you get the tax deduction. That's always cool. And with the Roth, you don't get a tax deduction. But then whenever you take the money out, it comes out completely, totally tax-free. And there's ways you can get the best of both worlds. You set up the thing as a traditional account to begin with, and then you slice and dice the asset, and you move those pieces of the asset that you think are really going to take off over to the Roth at a very low value. So you got your upfront tax deduction, and yet you're going to get the tax-free growth inside the Roth if you do things right as well.
Tim taught me that. I have my 401k. I opened it up with a Rothized money, and then I broke off with the traditional money, and then I broke some of it off, paid some tax on it, and opened up a Rothized vein. It's just the same account. We're just tracking two veins now, and yep. One at the end of the day when I take it out has no tax, and one over here is going to get taxed at whatever the rate is when I pull it out. So fun stuff too, because you can sit there and start to go, wow, this part of my portfolio is going to really boom because it's in this part of the town where they're putting the river in and they're doing all this, whatever it is. And you say, I better move this over to the Rothized vein before it becomes worth a fortune.
And whenever you do move it over, it's down here. And like you said, then later on, it goes up, off the screen. So move it whenever the price tag is very low on it. Yes.
And deciding on how to value those things, Tim's very helpful in that too. What are notes worth? When you've got to figure out what the tax would be if you sell some notes and stuff. Well, what are these things worth? I mean, there's different opinions on what a note is worth. I mean, you can ask 10 people about the same note. They're all going to give you a different value, but we have to find a fair value or something that the case law represents as fair. We don't want to be too far saying it's worth a whole lot. We don't want to be saying it's worth too little. You guys can be right down the middle so you don't get yourself in trouble. All right, man. Anything I need to cover before maybe we wrap it up, Tim? I could talk to you about this all day long.
Yeah, I can't think of anything right now because like you said, it's such a vast subject that people just need to know one thing. We've got this wonderful tool that is tax-free or tax deferred. Bottom line is you don't pay current taxes on it. And it can allow for all sorts of phenomenal growth. And it has complete asset protection. So you got to wonder, why wouldn't you be using this? Why wouldn't you? Just that simple.
I forgot to mention the asset protective sides of this. Very hard. I mean, you really have to screw up pretty bad for these things to become a target.
You do have to screw it up really bad. And also the bankruptcy code, specifically in black and white, says these are something called exempt assets. Even if, heaven forbid, you got to file bankruptcy, they generally speaking cannot touch your IRA, cannot touch your 401k.
Wow. I had forgotten about that. So the whole point is, instead of trying to guess or take all this in, just get with Tim. He'll, if you don't even know the questions to ask, he'll start asking you questions. He'll figure it out. He'll figure out where you're at and maybe a plan of attack. And then as he starts to explain more to you about your own personal situation, then you'll be able to start to pick and choose and make choices and decide. But it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful world to live in. It actually makes you feel pretty good because you see people paying huge amount of tax burdens and you think, once upon a time, I was on a webinar or a podcast or, a YouTube channel and I learned about this thing and I don't have to pay all that money on everything anymore. I just don't. I know people that live completely 100% tax deferred or tax free. I mean, they won't pay any tax in their lifetime. They might have to pay some if they die, but you know what I'm saying? They don't ever pay any. And they're very rare because not many people can do that, but they started out from the very beginning when they were very young, a long time ago, and started getting educated, and they know exactly what to do.
And they're building a tax-free future.
Yes. Tax-free future. Go to taxfreefuture.com. Check out those vignettes. Go to 1000houses.com or taxfreefuture.com, 1000houses.com/TFF, and check out everything in the show notes over there. Tim's not hard to find. You go to any one of those links, you'll find him. Have a conversation. The first conversation with someone, what does it cost, Tim?
Zip, zero, not a single penny.
Yeah. So you want to meet Tim? Tim wants to meet you. He obviously feels like it's worth the conversation just to figure out where you're at and see if it's even, if you're ready. And, there's a reason why he does that. Because there isn't anybody in the world that shouldn't be ready, but so the odds are way in his favor. But if it's not for you, there's no pressures there. There's never any pressures. No one needs that. So, all right, my friend.
Mitch, I'm not going to starve to death tomorrow. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Tim wants your business, but he won't be pressuring you for your business. You'll get to him when you're ready. You know what I mean? So, but we just need to know what we're talking about. All right, this is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by to get you some Tim Berry. Go to 1000houses.com/TFF or go to taxfreefuture.com. Either way. I'd also like to thank Livecom for sponsoring this episode. If you don't know who Livecom is or what they do, it's all about lead generation and mass texting and tracking. It's all about that. And it's so affordable, you wouldn't believe it. Go watch the video on the homepage and see how I have managed to work my average days on market for the houses that I'm selling down to 4 days. Over the last 200 houses, I average 4 days on the market, and I don't ever put a sign in my front yard or anywhere. I have no signs. I use no signs to sell my houses, not one. Check it out. There's a little video on the homepage, and you'll start to open your mind of like what lead generation, mass texting, and some newer technology, what it can do for your business. It's simply amazing. Livecom.com, LIVECOMM.com. All right. This is Mitch Stephen, and we're out of here. Tim, thanks a bunch. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mitch. Take care.